ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानामेकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वती नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தஹே जगदः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മന്യനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ട തോറു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. ഗുഡ് മോർണിംഗ് എവരിവൺ. Okay, Vani Garu, can you do 10?
Yeah. Srishti Bheda Varnanam. वैकुण्ठवर्धितबलोत भवत्प्रसादात् अम्भोजयोनिरसृजत् किल जीवदेहान् स्तास्तूनि भूरुहमयानि तथातिरश्चां जातिं मनुष्यनिवहानपि देह भेदान् मिथ्याग्रहास्मि मतिरागविकोपभीतिः अज्ञानवृत्तिमतिपञ्चविधां सृष्ट्वा उद्धामतामसपदार्थविधानदूनः तेने त्वदीयचरणस्मरणं विशुद्ध्यै.
And Manigaru, just the second line, Ajnana Vrittim iti, E sound. You have it that way, right?
Yeah, mitti.
Vrittim iti. Okay, keep going.
Vrittimitti. Yeah, okay. तावत् ससर्ज मनसा सनकं सनन्दं भूयः सनातन मुनिं च सनत्कुमारं ते सृष्टिकर्मणि तु तेन नियुज्यमानाः त्वत्पादभक्तिरसिका जगृहुर्नवाणीं तावत् प्रकोपमुदितं प्रतिरुन्धतोऽस्य भ्रूमध्यतो जनिमृडो भवदेकदेशः नामानि मे कुरु पदानि च हाविरिञ्चेत्यादौ रुरोध किल तेन स रुद्रनामा एकादशाह्वयतया च विभिन्नरूपं रुद्रं विधाय दयिता वनिताश्च दत्त्वा तावन्त्यदत्त च पदानि भवत्प्रणुन्नः प्राह प्रजाविरचनाय च सादरन्तम् रुद्राभिसृष्टभयदा कृतिरुद्रसङ्गसम्पूर्यमाण भुवनत्रयीभीतचेताः मामा प्रजासृजत पश्चरमङ्गलायेत् याचष्टतं कमलभूर्भवदीरितात्मा तस्यातसर्गरसिकस्य मरीचिरत्रिः तत्राङ्गिराः क्रतुमनुः पुलस्त्यः अङ्गादजायत भृगुश्च वसिष्ठदक्षौ श्रीनारदश्च भगवन् भवदङ्घ्रिदासः.
Second line, Srimanigaru. Tatrangirah kratumunif.
Okay, I missed the whole word.
I think something you said different there, that word.
Tatrangirah kratumunif pulastyah.
That's right.
Okay. धर्माधिकान् अभिसृजन्नत कर्धमञ्च वाणीं विधाय विधिरङ्गज सङ्कुलोऽभूत् त्वद्बोधितैः सनकदक्षमुखैस्तनूजैः उद्बोधितश्च विररामतमो विमुञ्चन् वेदान् पुराणनिवहानपि सर्वविद्याः कुर्वन्निजाननगणाच्चतुराननोऽसौ पुत्रेषु तेषु विनिधाय ससर्गवृद्धिम् अप्राप्नुवंस्तव पदाम्बुजमाश्रितोऽभूत् जानन्नुपायमतदेहमजो विभज्य श्रीपुंसभावमभजन्मनु तद्वधूभ्यां ताभ्यां च मानुषकुलानि विवर्धयंस्त्वं गोविन्दमारुतपुरेश निरुन्धिरोगान्. श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
Very good. Swami, can you do 11?
Yeah, sure. क्रमेण सर्गे परिवर्धमाने कदापि दिव्यासनकदयस्ते भवद्विलोकाय विकुण्ठलोकं प्रपेदिरे मारुतमन्दिरेश मनोजनैः श्रेयसकाननाद्यैः अनेकवापि मणिमन्दिरैश्च अनोपमं तं भवतो निकेतं मुनीश्वरैः प्रापुरतीत कक्ष्याः.
Last line, first word, Munishwarah.
मुनीश्वराः प्रापुरतीतकक्ष्याः भवद् भवद्दिदृक्षून् भवनं विविक्षून् द्वा द्वास् द्वास्तौ 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 जयस्तान् विजयोऽप्यरुन्धमाम् तेषां च चित्ते पदमापकोपः सर्वं भवत्प्रेरणयैव भूमन् वैकुण्ठलोकान् उचित प्रचेष्टौ कष्टौ युवां दैत्यगतिं भजेतम् इति प्रशप्तौ भवदाश्रयौ तौ हरिस्मृति नुस्त्विति नेमतुस्तान् तदेतदाज्ञाय भवानवाप्तः सहैव लक्ष्म्या बहिरम्बुजाक्ष खगेश्वरां सार्पितचारुबाहुः आनन्दयंस्तान् मूर्त्या प्रसाद्य गीर्भिस्तुवतो मुनीन्द्रान् अनन्यनाथावत पार्षदौ तौ संरम्भयोगेन भवैस्तिभिर्माम् उपेतमित्यात कृपं न्यगादीः त्वदीयभृत्यावत काश्यपातौ सुरैरिवीरा
Surari.
सुरारिवीरा उदितौ दितौ द्वौ सन्ध्या समुत्पादन कष्टचेष्टौ यमौ च लोकस्य यमा विवान्यौ हिरण्यपूर्वः कशिपुः किलैकः परो हिरण्याक्ष इति प्रतीतः उभौ भवन्नाथम् अशेषलोकम् रुषा न्यरुन्दां निजवासनान्धौ तयोर्हिरण्याक्ष महासुरेन्द्रो रणाय धावन् अनवाप्तवैरी भवत्प्रियां क्षमां सलिले निमज्य चचार गर्वाद् विनदन् गदावान्.
The third line, and the third line, it's a half ksha, right? Not a full ksha. So kshmam, K-S-H.
Okay.
Kshmam.
Bhavat priyam kshmam salile nimajya chachara garvad vinadan gadavan tato jaleshat sadrusham bhavantam nishamya babhrama gaveshayam stvam bhaktaika दृश्यस्य कृपानिधे त्वं निरुन्दिरोगान् मरुदालयेश. श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
Very good. Okay, we'll get going into 18 and 19 today. So 18 is Prithu Charita Varnanam. So about Prithu, which is also one of the incarnations of Narayana, but it's a very small incarnation, so it's not very well known because of that, right? Okay, so we'll have Anandji, you can be a student, and Narayani, you can be a student. Okay. So stanza 1. जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः सवेन नामा यद्दोषव्यतितमतिः स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमना वनं गतोऽभूत्. So since 17 was Dhruva Charitram, right? So it's kind of continuation of that. So this, it says here, in Aug6 is that, so his Dhruva's great grandson, right? So in this thing, in the history of Dhruva, right, there was a person called as Anga who comes in his hierarchy, in his ancestry, and to this king, this Anga was very devoted, and he has done a lot of great things. And one day he was performing this Ashwamedha Yajna, and then they had invited all the priests and all the Brahmins, everybody had come, and then they were doing all the right things. But suddenly they felt like as if the demigods were not participating in the Yajna. Nothing was, they were not able to see the result of it. So when they all begin to wonder, and he says, you know what, I have done all great things, but somehow, and you're all saying the mantras, everything correct, but somehow things are not happening. And they say it is all because, you know, you have a sin that you have committed in your past life, and because of which some of these things you're paying now, because of which you also don't have a son. So he then prays, and then he gets a son, right? He and his wife, they get a son. So the son is called Vena. So that is the name which is coming here, Vena Nama. So he gets a son by name of Vena. So this Vena, unlike his father, who is extremely devoted, he goes after his grandfather, who's absolutely not devoted to anything, and then he goes on, you know, killing spree, and like being a king's son, you know, or a ruler's son. He does a lot of bad things and everything, to the extent that the king now begins to feel that people who are childless are blessed than people who have a child who is so bad, right? So he kind of comes to that state, and then he realizes, then with some advice, he then realizes that actually it is good to have a child who is bad, because the way he then thinks of it is, if I have a child who's good, I'm going to be attached to the child, and I'm going to be wanting to stay home. But because I have a child who is so ruthless, I don't want to stay home anymore. And so he renounces everything, and then he goes away to the forest. Right, so that's what he's having. So he then dedicates his mind, Tvat Pade, devoted to your feet. He decides to go to the forest.
So Anga decides to go to the forest.
Anga decides to go to the forest, leaving behind Vena. Okay. Jatasya Dhruvakula Eva Tunga Kirtehe. Put a visarga there and comma. Kirtehe. Then the next line, Ra becomes A. Angasya Vyajani Sutaha is there. Put a is Sutas Sa Vena Nama. Yaddosha Vyatita Matihi. Put a is Matis Sa Raja Varyaha. Again, visarga there and comma. Next line is goes away. Tvatpade Nihita Mana Vanam Gatobut. Jatasya Dhruvakula Eva Tunga Kirtehe Angasya Vyajani Sutasavena Nama Yaddosha Vyatita Matessa Raja Varyaha Tvatpade Nihita Mana Vanam Gatobut.
जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः सवेन नामा यद्दोषव्यतितमतिः स राजवैर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमनावनं गतोऽभूत् जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः सवेन नामा यद्दोषव्यतितमतिः स राजवैर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमनावनं गतोऽभूत्
जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनि सुतस्य वेन नामा यद्दोष व्यतितमति स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमना वनं गतोऽभूत्. ஒரு நிமிஷம் லைட்டை மாத்திரம் போட்டுக்கலாம். जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनि सुतस्य वेन नामा यद्दोषव्यतितमति स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमनावनं गतोऽभूत्.
And in the third line, and the Matihi, this is there, right? I think the way you're saying it, it's flowing continuously. So Yaddosha Vyatita Matis Sarajavaryah.
ஒரு அழுத்தம் கொடுக்கணும்.
Is and the Sa have to kind of come. Otherwise, it sounds like you're missing one of the letter there. Okay.
यद्दोष व्यतित मतिस அப்படி சொல்லுங்க.
Matis is and then Sa.
Okay. Matis Raja. Okay. Hey.
Stanza 2. पापोपेक्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराध्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौत्सीत्. So now that Anga has gone, so all these other Bhrigu and all the sages who are there, so they decide that somebody has to take over, right? So although this guy is bad, so they end up going to his mother and saying, we have no choice, but we have to put Vena itself as the king or the ruler here. So, but a lot of the people oppose it because they know he is extremely bad, but they all say, you know what, you have to have somebody, because without somebody, there will be absolutely no control. So they install Vena as a ruler. And once they install Vena as a ruler, he then goes about telling everything that you should not have any more sacrifices, you should not have any rituals. And then he starts beating up everybody and doing all the atrocities. And so so all these unfair things start happening all over the earth because of Vena. Papopi kshiti tala palanaya venaha, comma. Next word, you can break it. Pauradhyair upanihita, if you want to break it, or you can say it together. Pauradhyair upanihitaha is there. Put a ich sound. Upanihitah. Kathora viryaha. Sarvebhyo nija balameva samprashamsan, comma. Bhuchakre tava yajananyayam nyarautsit. पापोपेक्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराध्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौत्सीत्.
पापोभिक्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराध्योरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरोसीत्. पापोभीक्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराध्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरोसीत्.
पापोपेक्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौरद्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरोत्सीत्.
And the second line, pauradhyair.
Okay. पापोपेक्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराद्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरोत्सीत्.
Stanza 3. सम्प्राप्ते हितकथनाय तापसौघे मत्तोऽन्यो भुवनपतिर्न कश्चनेति त्वन्निन्दावचनपरो मुनीश्वरैस्तैः शापाग्नौ शलबदशामनायिवेनः. So because all these atrocities were going on, so some important sages, they all went and tried talking to Vena, saying that, you cannot be doing all this, you are the ruler, you have to do all good things, but nothing is happening. So he kind of comes and says that, listen, you are doing all these offerings to gods and demigods and everything, but at the end of the day, I am the ruler. So everything has to be under me. So whatever you're offering, you have to be offered to me. So he says, I am the supreme person because I am the king of this area and the land and everything. So everything has to happen to me. So he kind of says all that, and then they get into an argument. So eventually what all these sages have to decide is, do we keep him or do we get rid of him? So it's a very tough situation they come, and then they end up putting a curse on him. So because of which he then dies. So just by words they curse, and then he then dies, and then Vena then dies because of that.
Ajayji, just a question. Even though the parents were so devoted, and how come this they are getting this kind of children?
No, I think because I think they were telling, right, is he went after his grandfather. Okay, he he said his grandfather was not a great person, but he ended up being his influencer, right? So and the other thing is, the misconception is the parents get the children, but the actual thing is the children end up picking the parents, right? When the child is getting born at time of birth, it has to pick, it has its destiny, right? And the child has to pick who I want as my parents, and the parents don't get to choose what kind of a child I want, right? That's a bigger conversation. But anyway, but in this case, like although this Anga is completely devoted, this Vena, like there's something that's going to happen from him later. So there is a particular script or a destiny written for him, because of which some things need to happen, right? And then he ended up, but in real life, he ended up replicating after his grandfather, who was a bigger influence, who
This
was
is Dhruva's lineage.
Dhruva's hierarchy, Dhruva's ancestry,
Ah,
coming in Dhruva's
so Dhruva
ancestry.
is so devoted,
I
but
know,
his
but
great
Dhruva's son ends up being good. I think Dhruva's son's son is Anga. Or son's, Anga is like the
great.
great grandson, and the hierarchy that is coming. So, okay. Okay, Samprapte Hita Kathanaya Tapasauge, comma, Mattonyo Bhuvanapatir na Kaschaneti Twanninda Vachana Paro Munishwaraistaihi, comma, Shapagnau Shalabha Dashamanai Venaha. Samprapte Hitakathanaya Tapasauge Mattonyo Bhuvanapatir na Kaschaneti Twanninda Vachana Paro Munishwaraistaihi Shapagnau Shalabha Dashamanai Venaha.
Samprapte Hidakatanaya Tapasauke Mattonye Bhuvanapatirna Kaschanedi Twanninda Vachana Paro Munishwaraistaihi Shavagno Shalabhadashamanayi Venaha. Samprapte Hidakatanaya Tapasauke Mattonye Bhuvanapatirna Kaschanedi Twanninda Vachana Paro Munishwaraistaihi Shavagno Shalabhadashamanayi Venaha.
Anand, second line, first word, Mattonyo.
Mattonyo.
Yeah.
Samprapte Hitakathanaya Tapasauge Mattonyo Bhuvanapatirna Kaschaneti Twanninda Vachanaparo Munishwaraistaihi Shapagnau Shalabhadashamayi Venaha. Samprapte Hitakathanaya Tapasauge Mattonyo Bhuvanapatirna Kaschaneti Twanninda Vachanaparo Munishwaraistaihi Shapagnau Shalabhadashamanayi Venaha.
Stanza 4. Tanhashat khalajana bhirukairmunindraihi tanmatra chiraparirakshite tadange tyaktaghe parimatithata thurudandhat durdande parimatite tvamabhirasihi. So now that Vena goes away, again the first original problem comes, that they start seeing that without again a ruler, things completely go havoc. And the story goes that one day the sages were sitting and then they were just seeing dust everywhere, because it's all the people rioting and looting and taking away everything from common citizens. So then they realized that, you know what, we made him, like they thought this was a bitch is stuck between a stone and a hard place, right? So they ended up getting rid of him, but then they realized the problem still exists, that these people are there. So what happens is, this Vena's mother, Anga's wife, she somehow, being motherly affection, she somehow is preserving the body. So she has put some whatever medicines that is required and everything, and she has been preserving Anga, this body of Vena. So it's not completely gone. He dies, but the body is preserved. So somehow he then says, and I don't know the how of it, but they say that the sages go, and then they churn out of these two arms, two beings. One of them, it says Toma Virasi, you, O Lord, is taking a part incarnation coming out of one of the arms of Vena, and Lakshmi Devi is coming out of the other arm of Vena. So two beings then are born out of, they carve out of Vena's arms. Now I don't know how, but that's what happens. And then you then take incarnation as Prithu, which is the chapter's name, right? Prithu Charita Varnanam. So Prithu, you then are born as Prithu. So Tannashat Khalajana Bhirukair Munindraihi. So put a visarga there at the end and comma. Next line is goes away and becomes Tanmatra Chirapari Rakshite Tadange Tyaktaghe parimatitat. So this one, if you want to break it, it will become parimatitat athoru dandat. It becomes, but that will be difficult to say. So you can say it together. Parimatitadha toru dandat. Put a it at the end of that line and a comma. Next line you will have two das, so one of the da goes away. So dor dande parimathite twama virasihi. Tanhashat khalajana bhirukairmunindraihi tanmatra chiraparirakshite tadange tyaktaghe parimatitadathuru dandate dordande parimatite twama virasihi.
तन्नाशात्खलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्राचिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्ताघे परिमदितादधोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमदिते त्वमाविरासीः तन्नाशात्खलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्राचिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्ताघे परिमदितादधोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमदिते त्वमाविरासीः
तन्नाशात् कलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्राचिरपरिरक्षिते तन्मात्राचिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे correct?
Correct.
त्यक्तागे परिमतिता दथोरुदन्दात् दोर्दण्डे परिमतिते त्वमाविरासीः तन्नाशात्कलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्राचिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्तागे परिमतिदा दथोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमतिते त्वमाविरासीः.
And the parimati tadha, அது கரெக்டா தான் சொன்னேன். I think you can just practice a little bit. Yeah. Parimati that. First is ta, and then the first da. So parimati tadha torudhandat.
Okay, thank you.
Stanza 5. विख्यातः प्रतुरुतितापसोपदिष्टैः सूताध्यैः परिनुतभावि भूरिवीर्यः वेनार्त्या कबलितसम्पदं धरित्रीम् आक्रान्तां निजधनुषा समामकार्षीः. So when this Prithu is coming out of the hands, right? So at that time, so when everybody comes and then they actually see that, you know, his arms, the palms, right, are seeing, they see marks of Shankh, Chakram and all in his palms and his feet. So that's when, you know, Brahma then comes and says that this is a part incarnation of the Lord himself who is born as Prithu. Now, because Vena has been, you know, he has not been allowing all these sacrifices and things have been havoc, the earth has become very infertile, right? So now Prithu, so that's why the core root word Prithvi, the earth word Prithvi is coming from this root Prithu, because this Prithu who is born then, you know, salvages everything out of the earth and brings it back to normalcy. So he is considered to be the first king of the entire earth, who salvaged earth and brought it back to life from when it was kind of completely getting destroyed. So that's why the root Prithvi is coming. And Kunti has a relation to earth, so that's why her name is Pritha. And then because Arjuna is born to Pritha, his name becomes Partha. And then because Krishna is a Sarathi, his name is Partha Sarathi. So that's how from this Prithu you can land up to Partha Sarathi with those connections there, right? So anyway, so here, you know, they all come and then they say the earth is in such a bad state. And then so Prithu then decides to, you know, they say, you know, in poetic terms, they say he took his bow and arrow and put it. Essentially what he did is he started promoting agriculture. The farming thing started because he started digging up and then all the things started coming out of the earth, right? So that's what is happening. Vikyataha is there, put if Vikyatah Pruturiti Tapasopadishtaihi, comma, Sutadhyaihi is there, put f Sutadhyaif Parinutha Bhavi Bhuri Viryaha Venartya Kabalita Sampadam Dharitrim, put a im at the end, Dharitrim, comma, Next line ma becomes a. Akrantam nija dhanusha samamakarshihi. Vikyatah prithuriti tapasopadishtaihi सूताध्यैः परिणुतभाविभूरिवीर्यः वेनार्त्या कबलितसम्पदं धरित्रीम् आक्रान्तां निजधनुषा समामकार्षीः.
विख्यातः प्रधुरिति तापसोपदिष्टैः सूतादैः परिणतभाविभूरिवीर्यः वेनार्त्या कबलितसम्पदं धरित्रीम् आक्रान्तां निजधनुषा सममाकर्षिः. समामकार्षीः विख्यातः पृथुरिति तापसोपदिष्टैः सूतादैः परिणतभाविभूरिवीर्यः वेनात्या कबलितसम्पदं धरित्रीम् आक्रान्तां द्विजधनुषा समामकार्षीः.
विख्यातः पृथुरुति तापसोपदिष्टैः सूताद्यः परिणुतभाविभूरिवीर्यः वेणार्त्या कबलितसम्पदं धरित्रीम् आक्रान्तां निजधनुषा समामकार्षीः. विख्यातः पृथुरुति तापसोपदिष्टैः सूताद्यः सूताद्यैः परिणुतभाविभूरिवीर्यः वेणार्त्या कबलितसम्पदं धरित्रीम् आक्रान्तां निजधनुषा समामकार्षीः.
Stanza 6.
So Rajesh Garu here. So the Prutu is the person who is born out of Vena's
Arms. Yes.
Okay. And the Lakshmi, we didn't talk about the Lakshmi.
I mean, the Lakshmi, the story is not there in Narayaneeyam, but essentially there's the other person who comes out of the arm. They call her Archi, A-R-C-I, right? And then they say this is the part incarnation of Lakshmi Devi, and then Prithu and Lakshmi then get married in this, and that's how this thing, the dynasty then progresses.
Okay.
Yeah, but that detailed story is not there in Narayaneeyam, but the name is Archi is the name that is given to her. Bhuyastam Nija Kula Mukhya Vatsa Yuktaihi. Put a visarga there again, comma, Yuktaihi. Next line on top of the day, there's a ir that goes away. Devadhyehi. Put a is Devadhyais Samuchita Charu Bhaja Neshu Annadhinya Bhelashitani. Say it together. Annadhinya Bhelashitani Yani Tani, comma, Swachandam Surabhi Tanum Adudu Hastwam. If you want to break it, Tanum Adudu Hastwam. So, like we said earlier, the earth was completely infertile, right? And so, essentially, what Prithu is doing is he's then restoring things back. So, restoring things back in terms of bringing agriculture back, as well as doing all the yajna and the homam and everything is coming back. And then they say Mother Earth now becomes like a Kamadhenu. It's a reference to say that whatever you want, you can get out of it, right? So that's what Kamadhenu is. It will give you a cow which will give you whatever you want. So it says now he's made Mother Earth like Kamadhenu. So people who want, grains or rice, fruits, flowers, whatever they want, they're able to get out of Mother Earth because now Prithu has made Earth more habitable. That's what has essentially happened here.
So here the Surabhi means Kamadhenu.
Yeah, so Surabhi is referring to the cow, right? Surabhi is referring to the cow Kamadhenu, and they're saying they're just comparing it by saying that Mother Earth became Surabhi, so that you can go and get whatever you want out of Mother Earth, right? That's essentially what it is saying is you are able to cultivate the earth now, and then you can grow things and get what you want. So he's kind of brought Earth back to that state.
Thank you very much.
Huyastam nijakula mukhya vatsa yuktaihi devadhyai samuchita charu bhajaneshu annadhinya bhilashitani yanitani swachandam surabhitanum adudu hastvam.
Bhuyastam nijakula mukhya valsayuktaihi devade samujita charu bhajaneshu annadhinya bilashitani yanitani स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनु मधुदुहस्तं भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाधैः समुचितचारुभाजनेषु अन्नाधीन्यभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनु मधुदुहस्तं
हस्त्वम्
हस्त्वं
भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाद्यैः समुचितचारुभाजनेषु अन्नादीन्यभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनुमधुदुहस्त्वं भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाद्यैः समुचितचारुभाजनेषु अन्नादीन्यभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनुमधुदुहस्त्वम्.
Stanza 7. Atmanam yajati makhaiस्त्वयि त्रिधामन् आरब्धे शततमवाजि मेधयागे स्पर्धालुशतमक एत्यनी च वेशो हृत्वाश्वं तव तनयात् पराजितो भूत्. So now this Prithu is then beginning to conduct Ashwamedha Yajna, and then he's completed 99 Ashwamedha Yajnas. So like we said, right, Indra is just a position, right? You have to have reached a certain level of consciousness and a certain level of responsibility, then you get that post. That's why when Bali Maharaja completed the 99, Vamana came and then helped him complete the 100 and then said, you'll become Indra later. You first go to Patala and then you will eventually become Indra later, right? That's how it was said. So here when Prithu completes 99, Indra now suddenly starts panicking. And what he does is he comes and steals the horse, the Ashwamedha horse. And but the thing that Indra does is, and this is written so many years back, he then dresses in the form of a sannyasi and comes and takes that horse. Okay. And so when Prithu is chasing, somebody says, I can see somebody taking the horse and going right in the space, and then Prithu chases, and then when he goes, he sees a sannyasi. So he says, okay, sannyasi cannot steal the horse. So Prithu comes back. So this Atri Maharshi is who ends up telling that it is actually Indra who is in the disguise of a sannyasi, right? So you have to go catch him. So then Prithu's son then goes gets hold of Indra and gets the horse back. So it is amazing because in Bhagavatam, which is written like 5,500 years back, it says even there that this is what is happening, that people go after people who are disguised like sannyasis, right? But in reality they are not, and they are that people get easily conned by that, right? And they say Indra set the precedent, and it actually says Indra was the first fake sannyasi who actually came up there, right? Who was disguised as a fake sannyasi to disrupt. And because Prithu thought, sannyasi, I'm not going to hurt him, right? He's not done. But Atri says, no, he is actually Indra in disguise, and you have to go get the horse from him, right? So anyway, his son goes and gets the horse from him. Atmanam yajati makhais twayi tridhaman, in sound at the end line, and comma, tridhaman, comma. Next line, the double na goes away, becomes a. Arabdhe shatatama vaji medha yage spardhaluhu, put a ish, spardhalush shatamakha ethya nicha vesho, comma, hritvashvam tava tanayat parajito bhut. Atmanam yajati makhaiस्त्वयि tridhaman आरब्धे शततमवाजि मेधयागे स्पर्धालुशतमक एत्यनी च वेशो हृत्वाश्वं तव तनयात् पराजितो भूत्.
आत्मानं यजति मखैस्त्वयि त्रिधामन् आरब्धे शततमवाजि मेधयागे स्पर्धालुशतमक एत्यनी च वेशो हृत्वाश्वं तव तेनयात् पराजितो भूत्.
तनयात् तव तनयात्
कृत्वाशं तव तनयात् पराजितो भूत्. आत्मानं यजति मखैस्त्वयि त्रिधामन् आरब्धे शततमवाजि मेधयागे स्पर्धालुशतमक एत्यनी च वेशो हृत्वाशं तव तनयात् पराजितो भूत्.
आत्मानं यजति मखैस्त्वयि त्रिधामन् आरब्धे शततमवाजिमेदयागे स्पर्धालुश्शतमकयेत नीचवेषो कृत्वाश्वं तव तनयात् पराजितोऽभूत् आत्मानं यजति मकैस्त्वयितृधामन् आरब्धे शततमवाजिमेदयागे स्पर्धालुश्शतमकयेत्य नीचवेषो कृत्वाश्वं तव तनयात् पराजितोऽभूत्.
Stanza 8. Devendram muhurti vajinam harantam vannau tam munivaramandale juhushau rundhane kamalabhave krato samapto sakshatvam maduripumaikszata swayam swam. So when the horse then comes back, but again Indra doesn't give up, right? What he does is he then creates these dark clouds over that Ashwamedha Yajna, and he steals the horse again. And again he comes like in a different disguise, but again trying to trick, right? So and then this happens, and Prithu then gets very upset. He says, you know what, I'm going to get rid of him. So the sages say, don't worry, we know what mantras to invoke Indra. And when we pray certain mantras, and the demigods have to come, and Indra will come, and then we're just going to put him into the fire. We're just going to burn Indra off, right, with this prayer. So when they're about to do that, then Brahma comes. Then Brahma comes and stops and tells Prithu that he reveals that to Prithu, you are like the part incarnation of Lord Narayana itself. So you will get into that. You will realize you have already attained the level of liberation, right, and everything. And says, why unnecessarily hurt Indra? And this is, Indra is also an important thing. He has his own duties and responsibilities, and it's like a kind of everybody has to coexist, right? So he says, do not complete the 100th thing, because by doing that, Indra is going to be dislodged. And the moment Indra is going to, then he's going to start resorting to all of these means, and that's going to set a precedent for others to follow. So he says, so Indra has already committed a sin by disguising in the form of a sannyasi, and we don't know what other means he's going to resort to. So Brahma comes and makes a truce, saying that you are already Narayana, you already attained liberation, so do not complete your 100th Ashwamedha Yajna, stop it right here. And then Prithu also then realizes that he is the part incarnation of the Lord himself, right? So Devendram Muhurti Vajinam Harantam, comma, Vannau Tam Munivara Mandale Juhushau Rundhane Kamala Bhave Kratoho, put is Kratos Samaptau, comma, Sakshat Tvam Madhuripum Aikshata, if you want to break it, Madhuripum Aikshataha, put is Aikshata Swayam Swam. So this is, see, you yourself, you are seeing Krishna, you as Prithu saw yourself as Mahavishnu. You realize that you are Mahavishnu as well. That's what is the last line there.
Rajesh, and the Vaknava, one now Cholonuma, and
the one letter, right? The Vanni or one now, and that which refers to Agni. So Adu Mattu, the generally the right way is the Ha also should not be, you cannot say Vah now. You don't say the Ha first either. You don't say one how either. Okay, so it is kind of like if you have to say N and H together, na, right? Like air coming out of your nostril, na, na. Okay, N and H together. So on the sound, varna, right way of saying it, but don't worry about it. That comes in Devi Matyam Narayaneeyam, and there's always a confusion. You say vah now, one how, and all that, but it's recommended one now, one now. That's the thing. One now is the right way, but that's okay because people say both kinds of things there. Devendram muhuriti vajinam harantam vannau tam munivara mandale juhushau rundhane kamala bhave krato samaptau sakshatvam maduripumaikszata swayam swam.
Devendram muhuriti vajinam harantam vannau tam munivara mandale juhusho Rundhane kamala bhave krato samapto sakshatvam madhuripum maikshata swayam swam. Devendram muhuriti vajinam harantam vannau tam munivara mandale juhusho Rundhane kamala bhave krato samapto sakshatvam madhuripum maikshata swayam swam.
That line, Anandji, that Madhuripum, since you're saying, right, then you say Aikshata. It becomes Madhuripum Aikshatas. Or you can say it together, but I think you are taking a pause after im.
Madhuripum Aikshadas.
Yeah, that's easier if you want to say it that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Devendram mukuruti vajinam harantam vannautam munivaramandale juhushau uddane kamalabhave krato samaptau sakshatvam madhuripum aikshata swayam swam Devendram muhuruti vajinam harantam vannautam munivaramandale juhushau Vrundane kamalabhave krato samaptau sakshatvam madhuripum aikshata swayam swam.
Stanza 9. Taddattam varamupalabhya bhaktimekam gangante vihitapadah kadapi deva satrastam muninivaham hitani shamsanne aichishthasanakamukhan munin purastat. So then, Mahavishnu also comes there, Indra also comes, and then they kind of get a truce, right? So Indra then apologizes for all the mistakes he has done and everything, and then the 99th, after the 99th Ashwamedha Yajna, the Prithu stops it, and then once all of that is completed, he then gives up everything, right? And then he goes to the bank of Ganges and everything, where he meets the Sanaka Muni, all of them, they come to give him advice, right? So that he fully realizes himself. Tad dattam. So double da and double ta coming there. Tad dattam varam upalabhya bhakti mekam, comma, gangante bihita padaha. Is there put a ik sound? Padah kadapi deva satrastam muni nivaham hitani shamsanne. Put a in. Shamsanne. And a comma. Next line, double na and I is there. That goes away. Just I remains. Aichishta. Aichishtaha is there, put a is. Aichishtas sanakamukan munin purastad. Taddattam varamupalabhya bhaktimekam gangante vihitapadah kadapi deva satrastam muninivaham hitani shamsanne aichishtas sanakamukan munin purastad.
Taddattam varamupalabhya bhaktimeka Gangante vihitapadah kadapi deva sastrastam munivanivaham hridani shamsan aikshishthas sanakamukhan munin purastad. Taddattam varamupalabhya bhaktimeka Gangante vihitapadah kadapi deva sastrastam munivanivaham hridani shamsan aikshishthas sanakamukhan munin purastad.
Taddattam varamupalabhya bhaktimekam gangante vihitapadah kadapi deva satrastam muninivaham hitani shamsan aikshishta sanakamukhan munin purastat.
And the aichishtas is.
Oh, aikshishta.
Aichishtas. And aichishtaha is clear.
Ama. Oh, yes, okay.
It comes there to join, yeah.
Okay. Aikshishtas sanakamukan munin purastat taddattam varamupalabhya bhaktimekam gangante vihitapadah kadapi deva satrastam muninivaham hitani shamsan aikshishtas sanakamukan munin purastat.
Stanza 10. Vijnanam sanakamukhoditam dadhanaha swatmanam swayamagamo vananta sevi tattadrik prutuvapurisha satvaram me rogaugham prashamaya vatageha vasin. So then he gets more knowledge from the Sanakas, Sananda, the four brothers, and then he attains full liberation and then attains all the supreme knowledge. So he says, oh Krishna, who came in the form of Prithu, who incarnated in the form of Prithu for the welfare of the world, please eradicate all of my ailments quickly as well. Vijnanam sanaka mukhoditam dadhanaha, swatmanam swayamagamo vananta sevi tattadrik prutu vapurisha satvaram me rogaugham prashamaya vata geha vasin.
Rajesh ji,
Oh.
Pradu is from Lord himself, right? Why he has to get jnanam from Sanagadevi?
Yeah, because it's like the part incarnation, right? Like we said, is the amount of how much of the potency or the energy is actually coming is also important, right? Like we said, Krishna, we said Krishna's to Bhagavan, so the Lord himself came as Krishna. But then he's taken a lot of such small avatarams where only a portion, like even like Nara was the Lord himself born as Nara and Narayana. But then there was a difference between Nara and Narayana also in terms of what they can do, right? So it is like how much of that potency or the energy is coming for what purpose. So here the purpose of it was to re-establish earth and make it more cultivatable, right? That was the intent, to set things back. So he only had whatever knowledge was required to come and establish that. But then the remaining information, still the Sanakas, they all are Chiranjeevis, they remain true. So they are able, or Narada, one of them always comes. Either the Sanakas come or Lord Narada comes. And they all come and then fill the missing gap. Think of it that way. And it's just a matter of realization, right? Like if we have to go, we have a long gap to get to that point. But Prithu will only have a little bit of a gap. But somebody has to just give that push and then instantly realize it. That's all it is.
Thank you.
विज्ञानं सनकमुखोदितं दधानः स्वात्मानं स्वयमगमो वनान्तसेवी तत्तादृक्पृथुवपुरीश सत्वरं मे रोगौघं प्रशमय वातगेहवासिन्.
विज्ञानं सनगमुखोदितं ददानः स्वात्मानं स्वयमगमो वनान्तसेवी तत्तादृक्पृथुवपुरीश सत्वरं मे योगोघं प्रशमय वादगेहवासीन्. वासिन् विज्ञानं सनगमुखोदितं ददानः स्वात्मानं स्वयमगमो वनान्तसेवी तत्तादृक्पृथुवपुरीश सत्वरं मे योगोघं प्रशमय वादगेहवासिन्.
विज्ञानं सनकमोकदितं ददानः स्वात्मानं स्वयमगमो वनान्तसेवी तत्तादृक्पृथुवपुरीश सत्वरं मे रोगौघं प्रशमय वातगेहवासिन्. विज्ञानं सनकमुखोदितं ददानः स्वात्मानं स्वयमगमो वनान्तसेवी तत्तादृक्पृथुवपुरीश सत्वरं मे रोगौघं प्रशमय वातगेहवासिन्.
Prashamaya.
प्रशमय. Thank you.
Krishnaaya
Parabrahmane namaha.
Okay. We'll quickly go to 19. We'll see if we can try to complete how much we can. Aarti, you can be a student. And Shobha, can you be a student? Okay. So 19 is Pracheta Prachetasa Kathanu Varanam. Prachetas or Prachetas. Then they are called Prachetas, but because it's their story, it's called Prachetas Kathanu Varnanam. Story about the Prachetas, 10 people. Pritostu Napta Pritudharma Karmataha Prachina Barhir Gyuvatau Shatadhrutau Prachetaso Nama Suchetasas Suthan Aji Janatvat Karunang Kuranivam. So here it says explicitly what the hierarchy is. It says Pritostu Napta. Napta means great grandson. So it says very clearly you are the great. So the Prithu who we saw in the 18th chapter, that Prithu's great grandson is called Barhishit. That was his name, Barhishit. And this Barhishit was also extremely devoted, and he does a lot of yajnams and everything. And what he does is he had this reputation of conducting several yajnams all over the world, where he put the darba grass pointing east. So everywhere he used to do the yajnam, the darba grass he used to put it in the east facing direction, the tip of it. So that's why it's called Prachina Barhis. He started with Prachina is east direction. So the Barhishit who did all the yajnam with darba grass pointing east, so they called him Prachina Barhis. That becomes his name. So this Prachina Barhis, he's again very devoted. He does a lot of good things, etc. Then he then gets married to this lady called Shatadruti, and to them they now get 10 sons, right? Who are all extremely blessed, and it is because of your compassion, O Lord, you then endow him with 10 sons who are also very spiritual, very high in spirituality, and those 10 sons are called Prachetas. The group of the 10 are called Prachetas. So, Pritostu Napta Pritu Dharma Karmataha, comma, Prachina Barhir Yuvatau Shatadrutau Prachetaso Nama Suchetasaha. Is there put is Suchetasas Sutan in at the end and a comma. Next line the na goes away, it becomes a Aji Janat Twat Karunankuranive. पृथोस्तु नप्ता पृथुधर्म कर्मटः प्राचीन बर्हिर्युवतौ शतधृतौ प्रचेतसो नाम सुचेतसः सुतान् अजीजनत्वत्करुणाङ्कुरानिव.
पृतोस्तु नप्ता पृथुधर्म कर्मटः प्राचीन बर्हिर्युवतौ शतधृतौ प्रचेतसो नाम सुचेतसः सुतान् अजीजनत्वत्करुणाङ्कुरानिव. पृतोस्तु नप्ता पृथुधर्म कर्मटः प्राचीन बर्हिर्युवतौ शतधृतौ प्रचेतसो नाम सुचेतसः सुतान् अजीजनत्वत्करुणाङ्कुरानिव.
पृतोस्तु नप्ता पृथुधर्म सुधान अजीजनत्वत्करुणाङ्कुरानिव. पृतोस्तु नप्ता पृथुधर्म कर्मटः प्राचीन बर्हिर्युवतौ शतधृतौ प्रचेतसो नाम सुचेतसः सुधान अजीजनत्वत्करुणाङ्कुरानिव.
Shobha, நீங்க ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது your voice goes away for the first 10 seconds. Okay. So and if you go,
yeah,
are you on your laptop or phone?
Laptop.
Okay, so in a laptop on the bottom left you'll see the mute button, right? You'll see the audio microphone button, right? Adal pakkatla there is an arrow, right?
Yes.
Click on that arrow.
Okay.
And go to audio settings.
Yes.
If you open the audio settings, there's a suppress background noise.
Suppress background noise.
If you go into the settings, if you click on the arrow, go to audio settings, it will open up a window, right?
Yes,
Saying
yes,
settings.
I see it. Yes, yes.
And the suppress background noise, what do you have?
I have auto.
Okay, change it to low.
Low. Okay.
Okay, and then automatically adjust microphone volume. Make sure it's unchecked. Make sure it's not checked. Aduk right above it, it will have automatically adjust microphone volume.
Same as
Right.
figure. Volume la vandu
Right above suppress background noise, you will have a text which says automatically adjust microphone volume.
Yes.
Is it unchecked? Okay, all right. Okay, so as long as the suppress background noise, set it to low, and let's see.
No, it was actually checked, Rajesh. Thank you. It was actually checked. Now I unchecked it.
Yeah, okay. Because now we can hear you clearly now. Let's see the next time how it works. Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Awesome.
Stanza 2. पितुस्य शिक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम्. So this Prachetas, because they're extremely devoted, very obedient children. So the father says, Prachina Barhi says, I want you all to go and get married and then create family. So they say, okay. And they say, but before we create the family and everything, we also want to spend some time, kind of realizing ourselves, getting some knowledge. So they start going towards the west. And when they start going towards the west, they start walking towards the sea. Essentially, they start walking towards the Arabian Sea. and there they see a beautiful lake. And the moment they see the lake itself, they feel very like relaxed, because it somehow it has a kind of energy where everything is very, they feel they can connect to that lake. So they decide to stop at that lake, right? And on the walk to the sea. Now, although it doesn't tell here, but I've heard some stories which, when people are doing Parayanam, Narayaneeyam explanations, they have said that this is the lake that is there in Guruvayur, because later on in this, Lord Shiva comes out of that lake. And Guruvayur originally, the Mammiyur was a kshetram before it became Guruvayur, right? So Mammiyur was a Shiva Parvati sthalam, that is. And later on only it became Guruvayur. So even before Guruvayur existed, Mammiyur was there, right? And that is the lake, it was there only because they say in some descriptions that Bhattripad, when he wrote it, he was referring to the lake that he's accessible from where he's chanting when he's writing Narayaniyam. That it doesn't say in Narayaniyam itself, he doesn't say that, but it's just one explanation I've heard.
Rajshi, one question. So in 10th chapter, we heard that there are, when Brahma is creating out of, he creates 11 Rudras. So is that Rudra different than the Shiva we talked? Or
Shiva is one of the Rudras. Think of it that way.
okay, and then in this river, one Rudra is going to come. That is, he is different than.
It's the same. It's the same one. The Shiva, the word Shiva, that Rudra is only going to come later.
So Shiva is form of Rudra.
Yes.
Or Shiva and Rudra are the same.
Rudra, there are 11 names. There are 11 Rudras who are formed, right? And one of them is Shiva.
Okay.
And that is the most well known. The other Rudras, generally nobody knows about it.
So, but Shiva came from Rudra, and the other
Shiva is just one of the. Shiva came from the Bhruvor Madhye, from the middle of the eyebrows of Brahma, right? We say that the Mrida came, a person called Mrida came from between the eyebrows of Brahma, and that, because that Mrida was asking, what do I do? What can I do? What is my name? And all that, because he cried, he was called Rudra. And then Brahma created the 11 Rudras and the 11 Rudranis.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So Pituhu is there. Putta is Pitus Sisriksha Niratasya Shasanad, and then put a plus. Bhavat Tapasya Bhirata Dashapite Payonidhim Paschimam Etya Tat Tate, Sarovaram Sandadrishur Manoharam. I think some people had a different word there. I don't know if anybody has a different word, but if you do, just change it to Sandadrishur Manoharam. Pitus Sisriksha Niratasya Shasanat Bhavat Tapasya Bhirata Dashapite Payonidim Paschimamete Tattate Sarovaram Sandadrishur Manoharam.
पितुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम् पितुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम्
पिदुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्य तिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम् पिदुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्य निरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम्.
The audio is still not clear, but I can understand what you're saying, but it is not fully clear, but that's okay.
Okay.
Later, yeah. Chansati. Tadha bhavattirtamidam samagato bhavo bhavatsevakadarshanadritaha prakashamasadya purah prachetasam upadishad bhaktatamastavam. So when this Prachetas people, the 10 of them decide, you know what, this is the place I want to rest, I want to think what to do. They're wondering what to do because they're really attracted to that area, to that lake and the waters there. So out of that waters, they see Lord Shiva coming out. And he says, Bhatripad says, Lord Shiva, you always like Lord Narayana's devotees, right? And you always have a special inclination to them. So Shiva then asks people, what are you doing? So they say, we have come here, we have been told to, get married and spread the progeny and everything. So they say, but we also want to have some realization, we feel. So Shiva says, I'm going to teach you a mantram, which is a very important mantram. And he says, it supersedes everything you know of. And he then teaches them Rudra Gita. It's a set of 44 stanzas which are there in Bhagavatam, where Shiva actually chants this to the Prachetas, right? And tells them that I want you to meditate on this mantram that I'm going to teach you. And then he goes on to tell them that 44 stanzas of Rudra Gita, which is essentially praising the Supreme Lord. And then he tells them, all I want you to do is just meditate in this lake by chanting this mantram. And then he tells them that mantram is not there in Narayaneeyam itself. It is there in Bhagavatam separately. I can send you all a PDF. It is supposed to be, very good mantram that Shiva himself taught Prachetas, right? What to say.
ஒரு கொஸ்டின் ராஜேஷ், பிரச்சேதசாம்னு வருது அந்த மூணாவது லைன்ல. புரஃப் பிரச்சேதசாம்னு வருதா? இம் இருக்கா இல்லையே?
வரும் இப்போ ததா I'll come there. அங்க இம் இருக்கு. So ததா பவத் தீர்த்தமிதம் சமாகதோ, பவோ பவத் சேவக தர்ஷனாத்ருதः பிரகாஷம் ஆசாத்ய புரஹ, put a F, puraf, prachetasam, put a im there, because next line it becomes upadishat, because next line you have a ma, right? So
மாவே இல்ல என்னோடதுல, பிரச்சேதசா தான் இருக்கு.
And then what do you have in the next line?
உபாதிஷாத்னு இருக்கு.
Oh, okay. So then put a im at the end of the third line then. Prachetasam im, comma. Next line, for those who have a mu, you replace it with a u. Upadishat bhakta tamas tava stavam. तथा भवत्तीर्थमिदं समागतो भवो भवत्सेवकदर्शनादृतः प्रकाशमासाद्य पुरः प्रचेतसाम् उपादिशद्भक्ततमस्तव स्तवम्.
तदा भवत्तीर्थमिदं समागतो भवो भवत्सेवकदर्शनादृतः प्रकाशमासाद्य पुरः प्रचेतसाम् उपादिशद्भक्ततमस्तवस्तवम्. तदा भवत्तीर्थमिदं समागतो भवो भवत्सेवकदर्शनादृतः प्रकाशमासाद्य पुरः प्रचेतसाम् उपादिशद्भक्ततमस्तवस्तवम्.
तथा भवत्तीर्थमिदं समागतो भवोद्भवत्सेवकदर्शनादृतः प्रकाशमासाद्य पुरः प्रचेतसाम् उपादिशद्भक्ततमस्तवस्तवम्. तदा भवत्तीर्थमिदं समागतो भवो भवत्सेवकदर्शनादृतः प्रकाशमासाद्य पुरः प्रचेतसाम् उपादिशद्भक्ततमस्तवस्तवम्.
Stanza 4. स्तवं जपन्तस्तममी जलान्तरे भवन्तमासे विशतायुतं समाः भवत्सुखास्वादरसादमीष्वियान् बभूव कालो ध्रुववन्न शीघ्रताम्. So this Prachetas, they then meditate underwater. So there's one other person, if you remember, who meditated underwater in the Kaliya, I think Saubharin, one sage was meditating underwater. That's when he sees the fishes, he gets attached to it. Then when Garuda comes, he then puts curse on Garuda. All of that is happening in the 53rd, 54th chapter, one thing. So a lot of people at that time, they used to be meditating underwater, right? So they, Prachetas, are meditating underwater for thousands of years. They're meditating. Now, Bhadrapad asked a question that when Dhruva meditated, you came within 5 months. Now for Prachetas, you took thousands of years to come. The reason was, sometimes some people do things to expect an outcome. So end result. Dhruva wanted to meet the Lord. So he was very intent on it. He did severe penance, and what he wanted was he wanted to meet the Lord. So that end, that was a clearly defined objective he had. Now, when the Prachetas started saying this Rudra Gita and meditating, they were enjoying themselves so much that they actually didn't want the Lord to come in front of them. They said, "You can take your time. We are in such a level of bliss and happiness that we are happy, contented, just meditating underwater and praying to you, that you can take your own sweet time." So, because of which the Lord let them meditate, and they were absolutely in bliss meditating. And after thousands of years, then eventually the Lord comes in front of them. Right? So sometimes you enjoy the journey more than the destination, right? So similarly, they were just absolutely enjoying the meditation that they were doing, and they said, "You can take your time and you don't have to come soon," right? So stavam japantas tamami jalantare, comma, bhavantam ase vishatayutam. If you want to break it, bhavantam ase vishatayutam samaha bhavat sukaswada rasada mishviyan, comma, bhabuva kalo dhruvavanna shigrata. Stavam japantastamami jalantare bhavantamase vishatayutam samaha bhavat sukaswada rasada mishviyan bhabuva kalo dhruvavanna shigrata.
स्तवं जपन्तस्तममी जलान्तरे भवन्तमासे विशतायुतं समाः भवत्सुखास्वादरसादमीश्वियान् बभूव कालो ध्रुववन्न शीघ्रता स्तवं जपन्तस्तममी जलान्तरे भवन्तमासे विशतायुतं समाः भवत्सुखास्वादरसादमीश्वियान् बभूव कालो ध्रुववन्न शीघ्रता
तवं जपन्तस्तममी जलान्तरे भवन्तमासे विशतायुधं समाह भवत्सुखास्वादरसादमीश्वियान् बभूव कालो ध्रुववन्तशिक्षता तवं जपन्तस्तममी जलान्तरे भवन्तमासे विशतायुधं समाह भवत्सुखास्वादरसादमीश्वियान् बभूव कालो ध्रुववन्तशीघ्रता.
Stanza 5. तपोभिरेषामतिमात्रवर्धिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पापितः पितापि तेषां गृहयात नारद प्रदर्शितात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ. So then because as they were continuing this, and when also what's happening in parallel is this Prachina Barhis, who's their father, he continues to do more yajnas and everything, and then he's really devoted. So Lord Narada wanted to visit him, because he went and asked him, "You're doing all these yajnas and everything. When you do some of these things, it always is to request something in return." So he says, "But what is the purpose for you with all of these things? One is you want to get rid of your miseries and sorrow, and then you want to remain happy." And he says the only way to do that is not to perform yajnas where you're requesting something. He says you have to be completely devoted. So he says, I think you can stop performing all the yajnas that you have all done, and then get into that supreme knowledge and start, getting more into that devotion, right? So that you don't get sucked in with this fruitive activities that you're doing. That's number one. Second thing he says is, as part of all these yajnas you have done, he says you have done a lot of animal sacrifices. He says, even though you have done it for the purpose of the yajna, you ended up killing animals, which means you are accumulating bad karma as part of that. So he says, however, some of it has been removed because all your sons have been praying for thousands of years, and because of that, some of your bad karma has gone. Right? They have been able to eradicate some of your bad karma. But however, he says you stop doing all this yajna, and then Narada then teaches him the ultimate knowledge, so that Prachina Barhis also then eventually attains liberation at the end of this. So tapo bhireshamati matra vardhibihi, comma, sa yajna himsa niratopi pavitaha pitapi tesham grihayata narada, and then put a plus, pradarshitatma Bhavadatmatam yayau. तपोभिरेषामतिमात्रवर्धिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पावितः पितापि तेषां गृहयातनारदप्रदर्शितात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ.
तपोभिरेषामतिमात्रवर्धिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पावितः पितापि तेषां गृहयातनारद प्रदर्शिदात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ. तपोभिरेषामतिमात्रवर्धिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पावितः पितापि तेषां गृहयातनारद प्रदर्शिदात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ.
तपोभिरेषाम् अधिमात्रवर्तिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि भावितः पितापि तेषां कृतयादनारद प्रदर्शिदात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ. तपोभिरेषाम् अतिमात्रवर्तिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि भावितः पितापि तेषां गृहयादनारद प्रदर्शितात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ.
Stanza 6. We'll just quickly finish 2 stanzas today. Stanza 6. कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पतगेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः. So then, because they've been meditating for thousands of years, when the final time comes, then the Lord then appears in front of them. Like we said, he always comes in the form that you are meditating on. You can visualize any form you want. So the form that they were meditating on was Ashtabhujam. So then Bhujabir Ashta. So you then came in the form of an 8-handed person, right? Having 8, and then it's mounted on Garuda as well. And then you came and gave that vision to the Prachetas. Kripa Balenaiva Puraha, put a F, Purah Prachetasam, comma, Prakasham Agaha, is there, put a F, Prakasham Agaf, Patagendra Vahanaha, Viraji Chakradi Varayudham Shubihi, Visarga there, Varayudham Shubihi, Visarga and a comma. Next line, Ir goes away. Bhujabir Ashta Bhirud Anchit. So if you want to break it, it becomes Bhujabir Ashtabhir Udanchita Dhyutihi. Okay, if you want to break it into 4 parts there, or you can say it together. Kripa Bhale, actually, Aarti and Shobha, just say it one time, okay, instead of 2. Kripa Bhalenaiva Purah Prachetasam Prakashamagaf Patagendra Vahanah Viraji Chakradi Varayudham Shubihi Bhuja Birashta Birudanchita Dhyutihi.
कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पदगेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः.
कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पदकेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः.
Stanza 7. Prachetasam tavadayachatahapi tvameva karunyabharadvaranadhaha bhavatpi chintapi shivaya dehinam bhavatvasau rudranutischa kamadha. So when the Lord comes to us, what do you want? Now these Prachetas have meditated for thousands of years in happiness. So he says, we don't want anything. Because, if they had wanted something, they would have thought about it. He says, we absolutely don't want anything, right? We just wanted your blessing. So the Lord then blesses them and also says that this Rudra Gita hymn, that which you chanted, may that give blessings to anybody who chants it, right? The Lord also says that let this be a fulfiller of all the desires of people who want to chant it in the morning and evening and all that. So he blesses them and then just gives them regular blessings saying, may you continue to be devoted to me and spread welfare in the rest of the world. So prachetasam, some books don't have the im at the top, so just put a im if you don't have it. Prachetasam tavada yacha tamapi, comma, tvameva karunya bharadvaranadaha bhavat vichintapi shivaya dehinam, comma, bhavat vasau rudranutish cha kamada. प्रचेतसां तावदयाचतामपि त्वमेव कारुण्यभराद्वरानधाः भवद्विचिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवत्वसौ रुद्रनुतिश्च कामधा.
ராஜேஷ் லாஸ்ட் லைன்ல பவத் யசௌ இருக்கு தமிழ்ல நீங்க
Oh, bhavat vasau.
வசௌ प्रचेतसां तावदयाच याचतामपि त्वमेव कारुण्यभरात् वरानदाः भवद्विचिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवत्वसौ रुद्रनुदिश्च कामदा.
प्रचेदसां तावतया च तामपि त्वमेव कारुण्य पराद्वरान् वरानताः भवद्विचिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवत्वसौ रुद्रनुदिष्ट कामता.
Yeah, we can stop the class here. Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurusharthatmakam brahmatattvam tattavad bhadi sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना भा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.